So my name's John Epstein. It's my great pleasure to welcome everybody here today to the Mitchell J. Blutt Visiting Professorship in Entrepreneurism and Medicine. And this is just a fantastic crowd. Thank you all for being here. And I apologize to those who we didn't have any more seats for as we had to cut off the registration because our speakers were such a draw today. I'm not surprised. This annual event is the brainchild of Dr. Mitch Blutt, which he thought of over 20 years ago and presaged the dramatic transformation that's taken place here at Penn Medicine over the last 2 decades. That transformation, as many of you know, has made Penn Medicine a world leader in translational medicine and innovative therapeutics. Mitch has always been ahead of his time. I think he knew this was coming, wanted to have a lecture to celebrate. Mitch was one of the very first physicians to have launched a successful career as a healthcare investor at JP Morgan, at Constance Capital, and in many other roles. Dr. Blutt was a Penn undergraduate where he created his own program for study that involved a mixture of psychology, biology, anthropology, and statistics. And then he obtained his MD degree here at Penn Medicine. Subsequently went on to get an MBA degree from Wharton through the Clinical Scholars Fellowship Program sponsored by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. He, I don't know why, but he left Penn to do his internal medicine at New York Presbyterian and Weill Cornell Medical Center. But he's remained a loyal friend of Penn and Penn Medicine over many years. Dr. Blutt has served on numerous boards for healthcare companies, foundations, biotech. Those have included Cardinal Health, Fisher Scientific, the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. He may also win the award for the most service on Penn boards, having served on the University Board of Trustees, the Penn Medicine Board of Trustees in the past, and both the Wharton and the School of Arts and Sciences boards presently. Mitch, thank you very much for the many years of service and contributions. Perhaps not surprisingly, Dr. Blutt is also a recipient of the Alumni Award of Merit, the University of Pennsylvania's highest honor for its alumni. So as I mentioned, Dr. Blutt began this lectureship to speak about and have conversations about entrepreneurism. And I just want to comment briefly on the transformation that I've seen in my several decades here at Penn, where the culture has shifted to the point where I think many of us, and I hope all of our trainees, have the sense that the work we are doing can truly transform the world, that we can translate new discoveries to be new medicines, and that we can implement those therapies in our communities as effectively as possible. And the change in the culture and the innovation that's taken place here has also transformed our neighborhoods. And if you look around West Philadelphia now, you can find up to 100 companies that have spun out of Penn Medicine. You'll see the effects of over $3 billion of investment in these companies that have created jobs and tall glass buildings and an ecosystem that I think feeds back to make Penn and Penn Medicine even more innovative over time. And I congratulate Mitch Blutt for leading the way and for having the vision to contribute to what's been such a dramatic change here and so impactful. I'm also personally delighted to welcome Arie Belldegrun here today, one of my role models, an advisor to me, and a friend of Penn and Penn Medicine. Dr. Belldegrun was born in Tel Aviv, Israel. He received his medical degree from Hadassah Medical Center at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. and he conducted his postgraduate studies at the Weizmann Institute. He then completed his urologic surgery residency at Harvard Medical School and his surgery oncology fellowship at the National Cancer Institute. He began a focus on the role of immunology in cancer long before that was a hot topic. And he was one of the people who really led the way in the immunorevolution that we've participated in here at Penn. He's the director of the UCLA Institute for Urologic Oncology, a professor of urology, chief of the Division of Urologic Oncology at the David Geffen School of Medicine. He began his first biotech company back in 1996 in the early days of monoclonal antibody therapy. This was the first of many biotech companies that he's created and built over the years. 3 of his companies alone sold for a combined $13.4 billion, developing products such as Zytiga and Yescarta and many others. He was the founder, the chairman, president, and CEO of Kite Pharmaceuticals, which was bought by Gilead in 2017 for $11.9 billion. After that, he started Vita Ventures, Allogene Therapeutics, Belco Capital, and as part of a joint venture with Tishman Speyer, Breakthrough Properties, which builds life science buildings in many cities, including here in Philadelphia at 23rd and Market Streets. Dr. Belldegrun is also a member of Penn Medicine's Council for Discovery Science, and he donated a significant donation to that philanthropic council and the Dean's Innovation Fund in its very first days of creation in the early days of COVID, and it was critical to advancing our internal research that emergently stood up to both keep our workplace safe and also to try to contribute to finding therapeutics for COVID in its early days. Some of you may remember COVID Safe, the test that we created, the saliva test that we stood up very, very quickly. The discovery work needed for that was funded in part from Arie Belldegrun and Josh Kazam, who's here today, who contributed to this important fund. Arie, you'll be glad to hear that the return on investment on the Dean's Innovation Fund has been profound. Probably tenfold the amount that's been invested here has come back in follow-on investments to those projects that we funded through that fund. So we're taking your advice literally with what we do here on campus at Penn. It's my true pleasure to welcome you to the podium, Dr. Belldegrun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Epstein, for your kind words. Let me just say, yeah, I have it. President Jamison, pleasure to see you here today and having dinner with you last night. I'm not new to the Penn group. I have had the pleasure of having 3 kids who graduated from Penn, 2 sons and 1 daughter. And my daughter met her husband, future husband, at Penn, and he is now a Memorial Sloan Kettering physician. So we have quite a lot of relationship here. And I have next to Larry Jamison, have Josh Kazam sitting next to him, that for the last 20 years has been my business partner. And each time I try to call him, he's either on his way to Penn, on his way from Penn, and it's sometimes annoying, hey, when are you working? We need to do some work here. So his commitment to Penn is unquestionable. So this is, and what's more interesting, that most of the friends that my kids are with now after graduating are Penn alums. So this is more than just coming to a college and going home and starting new relationship, but this became a real community actually for life. Well, I am today here to tell you a little bit about entrepreneurism and medicine. I usually don't talk about my career. I don't have, I had to put some new slides to talk about my own career. I speak a lot, but not about the history of career or of my own. Because when I came to UCLA after my fellowship at the NIH, nobody directed me, and I had no idea what and how one becomes an entrepreneur, even if he wants. Luckily for you, I'm involved in the LSM with the Life Science Management Program, and I see how you train the young generation, which is quite impressive direction and option for some of you who wants to proceed with. So with that, I'll try to give you a little bit of what I had and how things happened for me personally. The most important, I see a lot of you, kind of the young guys in the back here, the most important slide here is please choose carefully your mentors, because at least for me, my mentors were the most important part in my career and being here. Starting from my immunology mentor at the Weizmann Institute, talking me into the immune system, why the immune system is so important. And then he sent me to Harvard, and at Harvard I met the chairman of surgery who was intrigued about surgery and immunotherapy, and he sent me to Steve Rosenberg at the NCI. He says, I trained another surgeon who had an interest in immunology, and that's how I ended up at the National Cancer Institute working on immunotherapy. And the immunotherapy led me to UCLA, where another alum of the National Cancer Institute took care of me as a young faculty member. And so that part of the development has been a lot of mentorship in the space. Well, I know I'm here at the Silicon Valley, and I read that where the next generation of medical breakthroughs are happening. And today, Bruce Levine said, this is the mecca of cell and gene therapy. Well, there's no argument about that, but I try to do something different to show you that there is no N of one in anything. That's, if you fly with me this afternoon for 5 hours towards the beach on the west side of the country, you'll find the Silicon Beach. Let's not say what is better, a valley or a beach, but I'll leave it for you to judge. But having said that, you can see here the center obviously is around UCLA. Next to it is the kite, where we build kite, and now it's Gilead. Here is the manufacturing plant, the first manufacturing plant anywhere in the country that we have built, and now still it's a Gilead manufacturing site. And next to it is Neogene, another company that as of next month will be fully owned by AstraZeneca. It's an engineered TCR company that we have built over the last 4 to 5 years. And then there is our venture fund next to it, Vida Ventures, the allogeneic cell therapy companies, and so on. And the newest is the California Institute of Immunology and Immunotherapy that is being built, the building is ready, but is being populated in California. So this is more or less where part of my life is there. But in cell therapy, I started my career at the National Cancer Institute And those days, it was very hard to publish a paper in immunology and cell therapy. That was not the hot space. So this was some years ago. But what happened at the National Cancer Institute, that you found a whole group of interested people in the space, and eventually this is a hub and a cult that was created of people who are now all over the country and beyond, essentially global people that were all working on cell therapy and eventually moved into gene therapy. So that's kind of what the foundation of where we started over 3 decades ago. Well, I then needed to build my personal career in academia and moved to UCLA and started on cell and gene therapy laboratory and at the Department of Surgery and Urology. And I was very lucky to find a team of young, aggressive, academic physicians that were all interested in immunology. And one of them was Owen Whitty, that was a youngest member of the National Academy, and then a whole group, Tony Ribas, who worked under Jim Economo, who was the director of research at UCLA, Steve Dubinet, who came from MGH. Today, he is the dean of the medical school. Charles Sawyer is the one who worked under Owen Whitty and now at Memorial Sloan Kettering. All the rest, the 4, are at UCLA, still continue to work with us very closely in a lot of the companies that we are doing. We started our careers, all wanted to write NIH grants. We started writing these project programs because one of them was interested in melanoma, the other one I was kidney cancer, Steve Dubinet, lung cancer, and that's how we created an immunology group, and many of us continue to work till today in companies. Well, after several years that I already moved and felt comfortable and becoming a full professor at UCLA, I said, what's next? And at that point, the team that you just saw, we decided that we would move to the next level, which was, let's start a company based on some technology that we will have in our laboratories, move it out in Santa Monica, and we'll create our own company. The first company that we created in 1996, which is quite some years ago, but in 1996, I must say, gave birth in 2001 to the first ADC, the antibody drug conjugate, called enfortumab, which was an anti-nectin-4 gene that we felt that was important. With all our advisory board, we decided to do an ADC. It became Seattle Genetic, and it was bought by AstraZeneca. Eventually, now, as you all know, Pfizer bought the whole ADC package for $43 billion, and that's including Padcev, which is moving now to the first line of treatment for metastatic bladder cancer. We then moved to develop a drug as a urologic oncologist, a drug in prostate cancer, because we thought that genetics, we will create a master switch of hormones in the body, and we identified an enzyme that was important, and we developed a drug that is today called Zytiga. This drug was bought by Johnson & Johnson and today marketed all over. And obviously, as academic physician, this was the best for us. A New England Journal of Medicine showing for the first time that abiraterone increases the survival of metastatic prostate cancer. Well, then after these companies were sold in 2009, we sat together with the team and he said, what's next? Said, as a matter of fact, we have to go back to immunotherapy. That's where we started. Right now, this was a side job. Let's go back to immunotherapy. And that's how Kite was born. And with all of that, a lot of the stories are known. There was an effort here at University of Pennsylvania and ran by Novartis. And then we in California, actually the company was started at Two River in the office of Josh Kazam. We wrote the original idea, and eventually two products, Yescarta and Tecatrus, are both on the market. It's now marketed by Gilead. This was a great experience for me for the first time. I always was a chairman of the company. I never wanted to take a CEO position. I wanted to go and take care of patients and be in the operating room. And here, this was kind of my first jump to a real CEO position in a small biotech company. You can see the company was founded in 2009. In the lower left, you can see in the 2014, which was 5 years later, we took the company public with 20 employees. We then moved, and 3 years later, here is the headquarters on the right with 850 employees of the company, which was acquired by Gilead. We also had an opportunity to start thinking, how will a cell therapy manufacturing site look like? And we started building our first manufacturing factory that is still working and producing patient products today. As you can see on the top, this is a quote from Commander Donald Ertel, FDA regulatory officer, who came to view in 2009 our facility and sat there for 2 weeks. There was no comparables. This was one of the first, and by that time, Novartis already had the space here, but he sent us a nice note, and we have pictures of that. You should be very proud of what you have accomplished. And I can tell you, this is the last time, the first and last time that I got a compliment from the FDA. As many of you who deal with the FDA know, but that was the early days of cell therapy that you could fish a compliment even from the FDA. They didn't have to give us compliments. I think that anybody of you that wants to read, a few weeks ago, the Newsweek magazine will see Emily that tells her story 10 years later, and one of the first patients that we personally treated at Kite Pharma, of what was before, after, with lymphoma. She was given few months to live, and she tells the story 10 years later, and that is more than 1,000 words. You all know one of your big benefactors and really giants in the field, Dr. Roy Vagelos, and we had a lunch with him, David Chang, my head of R&D at that time at Kite, and Roy, and we asked him, Roy, what do you think of cell therapy? Is this a chance that it will become a mainstay of cancer? And you can see what he thinks. He said, it's not possible. It's not in a pill, it's not in an inhaler, it's not an IV, so what is that? It's a nice academic exercise. Well, that was what science fiction was all about, and as was shown here in this place better than anywhere else today, that it can move to a mainstream oncology, and you can see this is today over 200 companies, over 550 programs worldwide, 8 products approved. Actually, it's not so correct because 3 days ago, the 9th approval for Autolus was given, so that's already 9 products approved, and you can see the number of oncology companies, and each one of them thinks that they have some edge to develop something even better than that, okay? But obviously, if you have some good ideas, it can be translated to even greater technology, and this is where cell therapy has moved into an exciting area, including here some companies that you have, which is in the autoimmune space. And you can see that right now with over 250 companies that we could find and 650 programs, that is what happened from this original early days of Novartis, Juno, who is now BMS, and Kite, who is now Gilead. That was the nucleus for cell therapy. The company was sold in 2017. We immediately jumped in to start a next generation technology, which we believed will be more efficient than autologous CAR T, and we created Allogene. Allogene was taken public in 2018, end of 2018, and in order to try to making CAR T more accessible to patients. The main advantages, without going to all of that we have summarized, is number one, attempts to reduce cost, to increase the access, to be able to use the off-the-shelf for multiplex gene editing and so on, and speed and reliability. It sits in the freezer, the patient comes, you give it directly. We have treated quite a lot of patients right now, and it's moving its way. As I mentioned, the next company we have developed was in the engineered TCR, the T-cell receptor engineering, and that is something that AstraZeneca is now developing. The company has multiple clinical trials, but this is an AstraZeneca, not for me to give you any clinical data anymore. This slide summarizes the stock market in my 3 decades of being in the entrepreneurship side and being in the company building side. As you can see below, you have the years that it took, over 11 years from our first company in Allogene, 6 years of Cougar, then I think 8 years for Kite, and now 6 years of Allogene and still going. So it shows you that you need belief in what you're doing, you need to be patient and consistent. This is not something that's happening overnight. More importantly, I think that the message here should be, I have lived personally through 4 downturns of the market. I don't know if it was smart or not, or just ignoring facts, but not looking at all of that. But I can tell you that we have never looked at what's the timing for creating a company. We have done what's right for the science. And therefore, I personally believe science is great, is more powerful than any market downturn. The science is unstoppable, and I think that is where we have to go by. Go by the science, not by the timing, when I'll do it, maybe I'll do it next year because it will be easier to get money. That's not what's going on. And eventually, at the end of the day, when I'm looking at what I've done and what makes me most proud of my work, other than the probably thousands of patients that I operated with cancer by one patient at a time, when I looked at the drugs that we had, and we had a major effort in developing it, in bringing it to the FDA, to making it happen, is shown on this slide. And I didn't talk about Eurogen, but we have here CEO of, I saw her here somewhere, Liz Barrett. Here you are, yes. Liz Barrett, our CEO of Eurogen, which already markets one product. It's only $100 million in about $100 million, but we are about to, we look forward to a multi-billion-dollar product with a PDUFA date of June of next year. So that is a story by itself, which is exciting. We are not developing, we are not the only one who are developing multiple companies. There are amazing companies, and therefore we raised $2 billion and founded a Vida Ventures, which now has a portfolio of 48 biotech companies. And John was very humble and not disclosing that he let us even invest in this highly, highly competitive process of funding his company, Capstan, which I didn't know what CAPS is. He said, "You don't know what Capstan?" I said, "No, I don't know." So he explained me as an avid sailor what exactly is the Capstan and why he called it Capstan, which I keep telling others, and very few know it, by the way. So I'm not the only one, but this is one of the companies that we are founders and investors. And finally, as I showed you, this is the whole complex is the California Institute of Immunology Immunotherapy, which we call it, what we are building here is the 21st century of the Broad Institute on the West Coast. We got a $500 million from the governor, and now we are raising about $1 billion to $1.5 billion to create a California Institute just for immunology, immunotherapy. Next to it will be the Institute for AI and quantum science. So that will be a whole campus, which will be quantum science, AI, and the Institute of Immunology and Immunotherapy. At the end of the day, that's the most important slide for you here in cell therapy. These are patients that we took care personally, and we have the story of all of these. And when you see patients years into cell therapy and essentially cure their disease with a single infusion. This is not chemotherapy. This is not complicated therapy. It's a single infusion, and your body is actually the factory that creates the molecules, the therapy. And we hope that eventually the in vivo CAR T will be the next generation that will not need any cell manufacturing plant, but you will be really producing it in your body. So with that, I would stop and happy to get some questions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, everyone. I was very careful not to let that switch go on during lunch. And here are some of the things that Kevin Mahoney might have been muttering. No, kidding. Thank you very much, Dr. Belldegrun. You know, we've had this event for 13 or so years, and we've had, I think, great speakers, maybe with the exception of the first year where I was the speaker. But sometimes, every now and then, we have a legend, and today we have a legend, Dr. Arie Belldegrun. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your remarks. You know, I'd just like to say a couple other introductory comments, and then I'll get into some questions that may not have been addressed yet. Last year's speaker, who ironically, this story was at Gilead Sciences, the acquirer of Kite. I asked him why did you leave Gilead and go do a startup? He was not a physician. And he said, I was standing in my lovely apartment in San Francisco, where he lived, and I looked in the mirror one morning, and I said to myself, is this it? And that was it. He just felt like he had achieved a lot, but there was more. And I listened carefully to Arie, and he achieved the greatest achievements that academic physicians strive to achieve. And I don't think he said he looked in the mirror, but he thought to himself, what's next? It wasn't, is this it? It was, what's next? And then after each accomplishment, what's next? So if this is it, or what's next, occur to any of you at any point in time, don't hesitate to follow your impulse, because look at the remarkable things that can happen. So, Arie, could we go back to your childhood? We only have
Kindergarten to start? Sorry, I didn't start from the kindergarten, you know, I couldn't.
Yeah. No, we have about 15 or 20 minutes to have our conversation, then we'll take questions from the audience. But let's go even back to, how did you decide you wanted to be a physician?
Since I remember myself, all I wanted is always the cutting edge, the most difficult, the most challenging, the most whatever it is. I remember being in medical school and looking, okay, so what doctor will I be? And I rotated to the different department. I said, surgery it should be. So what in the surgery? Cancer. That's a challenge. Good, let's do. So I decided to be a cancer surgeon. And that is to always to be in the cutting edge. What's new? What's next? So I think it's probably, there's a gene for that. I don't know if somebody cloned it, but this is what you want to do. But I can tell you that one of the most brilliant surgeons that I worked with was at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, which became my mentor. And he was not a very good teacher because he was bored. He was so brilliant. He was bored to do the same surgery in the same approach. It's to learn surgery, you want somebody who has 10 moves, and if you saw the move 3 and you leave because you need to go, you come back to move 4 and you write down 4, I take this, right, left hand, and that's what I do. That's easy. He never done the same. He says, you know what? We are going from the front. Why? Maybe we shouldn't cut any muscle. We'll go from the back, and this will be much easier. So I said, no, we don't understand. So this is the type of people that also want to innovate, to do some new things, change, and don't do the same operation, the same procedure for the rest of their life. Although I think you want to have people that are doing it so many times, and if you need them, go to these guys. But this is two type of people.
Yes.
that probably, that's kind of the long answer to what drove me.
Understood. Trying to do the most difficult thing, trying to conquer the most difficult challenge. You talked a lot about mentors right at the beginning of your remarks, and I too, everything good that's happened in my career was somehow influenced at some point by one of a handful of mentors. What is it about mentors? And people in the audience, many of them are at stages of their careers where they're imagining, thinking, wondering how might they get somewhere. What is it about the best mentors in your career? What did they do for you? What did they bring you?
Okay, since I started to tell you about my Harvard days, so that's the best example to give you because that's very relevant. Sometimes mentor is be in my lab, do whatever I do, help me, do something, and then I'll help you. Sometimes you have a mentor that does a little bit more than that. It's not so convenient for me right now, but it's right move for you. For example, our residency program was 6 years, 1 year in the laboratory. Well, everyone wants the residents who work in the lab so they can write papers and they do everything, so it's the name of the laboratory. You know, my mentor came to me and says, you have written enough papers before you come to me. Working in my lab will not give you anything right now. I want you, but I think skip the year, take the chief residency year. I have Steve Rosenberg. I'll speak with him. He was my resident. I'll put you there, and you'll take the board after the first year of being at the NIH. I said, if that's what you think I should do, it's fine. That's what I did. I came to meet and greet my next mentor, but didn't even have to interview because he did all the preparation. And I skipped a year in my residency program, which was very important for him because he wanted the science paper and this paper and all this publication. So that's an example of what a real mentor, at least for me, is what's good for you. And that's what he thinks. It takes time. It's not everybody, you know, you need to earn, you have to earn it. It's not coming just because who you are.
Undoubtedly, you have, and I know I have had many people suggest many things every day, and they don't resonate in the same way as that very rare special mentor, as you gave that example. They say something, they suggest something, and it just makes it seem possible and appropriate. And now speaking about appropriateness, something that Arie and I have talked a little bit about. At the time you made your first move into entrepreneurship, let's say probably, it sounds like it was when you created Kite Therapeutics, but there were academic peers who probably thought, why is Arie doing this? Why is he leaving his principal focus, which was academic medicine, academic surgery, academic oncologic surgery? Why is he doing that? Why is he going to this other place? This, you know, and was that difficult? Did you feel people were critical of you, and did that happen, and has that evolved?
Yes. I was called a T lymphocyte. Oh, a surgeon? No, he's a T lymphocyte, you know, the lymphocyte. Okay, it's conviction in what you want to do. And I did move right and left. And I had no idea, and nobody taught me how to do. Actually, the first company in 1996, we had to write a business plan. I didn't know how to write a business plan. So I started asking, and they told me, Anderson School, the business school, you can go there. There's one of the professors that is helping his MBA students to do it. And I went to him and I said, look, I'm a professor of urology, but would you help me? He says, no, I'll give you a summer student, and he will do it. A business plan? Okay, the first $10 million that I got for our Agency's company on gene discovery was from a student, a summer student that did write our business plan. Things have changed, and that's why it's so important right now that you come with all the knowledge that looks very obvious to you guys. It is what you need. You have all the tools. I watch the May meetings that the LSM is having, and the sophistication in defending each aspect of biotech company, whether it's commercial and manufacturing and this and that, and it's mind-boggling. So this is a very unique place here. I want to tell you that we are trying to create the business of science. And obviously in the beginning, they said, this is the dark side. Why are you going to the dark side? This is the dark. This is the bright side now. This is where things are happening. That's where there is new technology, cutting edge. That's where you have the money to do what you want to do. So it's not the dark side anymore.
Thank you for that. And
by the way, yeah. I don't know if I can say, but I was told by the president. I was with the president of Harvard some time ago, several months ago. I was sitting with him and I said, so what are you going to do now, Alan, when you are doing the new stuff? He says, I think that what you've done, that's what we need to do. We need to have a dual path for anybody who wants to work as a faculty at Harvard, but also wants to work in a pharmaceutical biotech, should be able to do that. We create a special arrangement for this physician. So I said, wow, if that's what really is going to happen, that opens an opportunity for everyone. Either you want to go to one direction or you want to take it for a different aspect. And that's what he thought is after graduation, yeah? But how do you want to lead your career? Because it's quite difficult to be an academician, to be a scientist, and to be an entrepreneur. It's 3 full-time jobs. And you have to learn how to juggle it. One, I'll do it now. Now I'll stop a little bit here, and I'll move with this, and we do it this. I didn't get a grant, I'll move with that. This is not easy, and if you have somebody on the other side that understands promotion and what you get and what credit you get, that's one thing. But if you don't get it, that understanding, it can become very difficult.
I agree in my experience, and your conversation with the president of Harvard, and there's a president in the room and a dean in the room who hopefully have a similar view.
That's why I stimulated, exactly. Do it ahead of time.
I have found, and I'm curious if you found, but I have found that the physicians, particularly academic physicians, and other forms of clinicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, veterinarians occasionally, the clinicians who have made this pivot, which used to be the dark side, and I like that, now the bright side, the vast majority of them maintain their dedication to, whether they're still practicing or not, to caring for patients, to the Hippocratic Oath, and to an academic mentality, an evidence-based mentality. Unfortunately, I've seen a few who seem to just abandon those thoughts and seek profit without any regard, but the vast majority are dedicated to the continuation of their act. Is that your experience, most of the physicians?
Once a physician, you're always a physician.
Yeah.
When they ask me, what are you doing? I said, I'm a physician.
Yeah.
Okay? So you don't get, this becomes your DNA, your new DNA,
exactly.
Okay? But all the rest is directions of how and what you do with the knowledge you have. Some want to take one direction, and again, like we discussed it. So I have no doubt that this is the physician that you studied. I wouldn't do it any other way. I see of others who go straight from the science to start companies and stayed from MIT, did and start companies, and understanding the patient. And when I see it, technology today and we just in the last 3 years, we saw 2,300 companies. How can you evaluate all of these companies? For me, if somebody brings to the investment committee, I look, first question I ask, is it good for the patient? In my back, is it good for the patient or it's not good for the patient? If it's good for that, there will be, I don't care, cell therapy, complicated, not complicated, that's not important. 2 patients I saw at the NIH, Rosenberg called me and said, Arie, come to the office. I came to him, he shows me 2 patients, x-rays. And that 2 patients that I saw, that tumor 3 weeks disappeared, I brought it to Kite and I said, forget it what we wanted to do before. Vaccine, this, that is going to be the center of the, so it's all about patient education, what you do, and then comes IP, all of the rest of the secondary. That's at least for me, and that's my medical education.
It's the right, in my view, it's the right North Star, and it makes that dark side taint risk diminish or disappear. So you've achieved so much, some of which you talked about in your remarks, you know, your academic medical career, your entrepreneurial career, your investment career. There are many others on Arie Belldegrun's list. Of which are you the most proud?
I showed you this slide. I'm most proud. Most proud is you have an idea. It's not your idea. It is collective. Look, it takes a village to bring a drug to market. It will not help. You cannot. No one can do anything alone. I don't know. Maybe in a Nobel Prize you can get one idea. In drug development, you need so many technologies. We just met here with Bruce Levine. Without Bruce and all his ideas, all your cell therapy is worth nothing because a lot of that is not your IP. It's the secret sauce that you are doing in that particular case. So it's about, at the end of the day, it's about collective ideas that you are sitting in a room or in a house or in a garage or whatever, and now hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are using these drugs, and it works. That's, for me, the ultimate, and all I want is more of the same. That's all. I don't want anything more than that.
Please keep doing more of the same. So maybe this will be my last question, and then we'll transition to questions from the audience. I kind of recited my sense of your career progression, but you know, now everyone in the audience knows that in your mind, there's always what's next. So what's next in your career?
I told you, more of everything I'm doing right now is...
I'm suspicious.
You know, it's like the fisherman that had first to fish for food, and now he's fishing for fun. So, luckily enough, I can choose what I like to do, what I want to spend my time, and I'm in that space right now.
No politics in your future? Just, you know, we had this election recently. I thought I'd ask, but well,
absolutely
we'll see.
not. Bad joke for me. You don't know me.
I understand. I think that if all you do is more of what you've done, this world will be an even more dramatically better place, for which we would be very grateful. I have a feeling that you might not know yet, but there might be completely new paths in store for you, but we'll see. But please, keep doing what you've been doing, and patients will benefit, and the world will more broadly benefit. So thank you. We have questions from the audience, and will someone specifically be communicating or taking those questions? Okay, and I have several other questions for Dr. Belldegrun while we're
while you're asking question, I just want to say, you know, we had a lot of meetings this morning with faculty members, and those in the back, you know, really take advantage of what is there in this institution, because I travel all around the world, and this institution has so much translational, from the science to translation to drug development experience, which is just mind-boggling, and this is a very unique place, and I'm very pleased that I had the opportunity to come here today, so regardless.
As are we. If you have a question, please rise or do something so that it's obvious to me. I'm going to ask Dr. Belldegrun another question while we're waiting. I see a hand over there, but while we're going to that person, there is a political shift in the United States. Are you worried about NIH funding on a near-term, going forward basis? Is this something we need to be concerned about in your view?
I hope not. Right now, there's not much objection, you know, House, Senate, and all of that. This is becoming one group. It all depends who will be the next NIH director, who will be the HHS director, and I think a lot of that will be depending on it. You know, we had amazing Trump appointees in the first election with Scott Gottlieb. That was an amazing FDA director. He was really one of the best. Some of you, I'm organizing once a year a Cabo Bio. I think that John was there, and I interviewed Scott Gottlieb. And at the last question, I said, okay, you have been there in the first. What will happen if, and then it was a year ago, what happened if Trump asks you today to come to be the next director of the HHS? And you could see the glitter in his eyes, and, you know, and it was very clear that if he would be invited, personally, I've not talked with him since, he will be. And if he will be, it will be great. Be good. But if, without naming people that everybody thinks of, will be there, that might be a change. I hope that there has been enough resistance to understand, don't ruin what has been built over so many years, because it's an amazing organization. Anywhere you go around the world, everybody's looking at FDA and and even the EMA and everywhere. So I think don't ruin what's available right now.
One of the greatest exports from the United States is life sciences. Life sciences knowledge, life sciences products, life sciences treatments, et cetera. So hopefully that can be preserved and grown. There's a question here, please. If you could just speak into the microphone. Thank you. And rise.
Hello. So my name is Alex. I'm a freshman undergraduate in the LSM program. My question is, how important is it for biotech founders to have like that deep scientific insight as opposed to like a business acumen? And what kind of balance do you look for in founding teams? Thank you.
What kind of the question?
Yeah, the scientific base. What's the second half of the question?
Like how important is it for biotech founders to have a deep scientific aspect versus a more sophisticated business side? Like what balance do you look for in founding biotech teams?
Again, that's in my mind. I think science is more important. In the beginning, it's lonely at the top. At the end of the day, it's lonely at the top. There are some great business people who are ashamed to ask questions from their team that will show that, oh, they don't understand what really is going on and all of that. I think that the basic of MD, PhD, understanding the translation to see which direction is going on is the key in any biotech company. Doesn't mean that if you're a savvy businessman and you surround yourself with very smart people who help you to do it, you'll not be successful. But that's not I would do. I think that the business of science should be done by scientists, physicians who understand the business. That's why you have the LSM program, which will teach you, believe me, by the time you finish, you'll be well thought of. I've seen many generations of that.
Thank you. Next question, please. And if each person could say where you are in your educational or professional life as you ask your question. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, Doctor, for speaking today. My name is Steven. I'm a junior, also in the LSM program. I was wondering, you mentioned that you approach a lot of your entrepreneurship-like ventures with this patient-first perspective, which we've seen in a lot of people that come and speak at our program, that come and speak at Penn. But a lot of these like new innovations, CAR T, gene therapies, have a lot of access issues because of the issues with reimbursement, the issues with how expensive those hospital-based treatments are. What role do you think entrepreneurs play in bridging those access issues when you have a new breakthrough therapy that can be very prohibitively expensive or difficult for a target patient population to actually access?
Look, entrepreneurs are in a position that they identify, if you're a scientist or clinician, what I call big science. You have science, you create something that will work for a single disease or single answering a single problem. But you have sometimes ideas like the mRNA, the CRISPR, the cell and gene therapy that can become, it's a movement, a full application to multiple places. Yes, it can be, and it is very expensive. And the question of also, can we afford it? Can the country afford it? Can everything? I don't know if that's what I've asked ever. What I say, is it good for the patient? If it cures cancer, and if you can get a patient 10 years later without any disease, what comes next is technology companies, innovation in technology, and the next generation will make it affordable. Not always the case, but we are on the way to it. So it's complicated. I cannot tell you that it is not a factor of the financing is not a factor, but at least from what I see, you see 650 programs with 250 plus companies in the space, and it's very expensive. Do we need so many? I'm not sure, but definitely the need is there, and I think eventually all the technology will be solved. The issues of technology will be solved, will be automated, will be will be miniaturized, and so for now, don't worry about money. Worry about coming up with something new and innovative.
Thank you. We have time for a couple of more questions. Yes, hi. Oh, now you're on. No, you're not on.
There we go. I'm Dr. Melissa Cooper. I'm one of Mitch's classmates from 1982. I also joined the dark side very early once I finished my training. Here's my question for you. You've had an extraordinary career. You've had so many opportunities. Is there one opportunity that you declined that in retrospect you wish you had accepted?
Opportunity, you mean in all of the biotech?
All the different things that you've done.
Career opportunity, I think.
Oh,
Was there a career opportunity that you turned down that you, in retrospect, wish you had accepted?
I'll break it into to the first half. Did I have a lot of career opportunities? Yes. Am I sorry now that I didn't take it, or that my wife wouldn't move to MD Anderson for me to head a big institute there? Yes, I was fighting for it. She was probably right. So I'm not regretting on anything I have not done. I've been at UCLA, or a base at UCLA, and I thank them for letting us be entrepreneurs. And the evidence that we were successful is the same slide that I showed you when the 4 of the professors, all of them are still professors at UCLA. None of us left the university. We are all supporting and helping, and companies that we sold, a piece of that goes to our institution, not because we need, but because we donated. And we asking our donors who made well, if they want to participate in the next venture with us, to give some of that back to the institution. And And that's kind of a thank you for letting us be entrepreneurs in an academic institution, which is less entrepreneurship than this one, because it's a state university, it's difficult. So I'm not regaining on any opportunity that I didn't take. Maybe I'm fortunate, but I think that if you would ask the dean of the medical school at UCLA that started at the same day that I came to UCLA. I came from the Brigham, he came from MGH, he's now the dean of the medical school. He says, everything I've done, I would do it again.
The only thing I wouldn't correct, because you said it, but I would re-emphasize is your wife was right, your wife is always right.
That's
so
we learned.
If it was your wife's recommendation.
That's what my kids are saying, okay?
Yeah. So I would just like to say, unless there's one last question, but I think we have one more? Okay, one more question, then I'll wrap us up.
Yeah.
Please.
Hi, my name is Sridhar. I'm a senior in the LSM program, so we're progressively getting older. So really excited to share what I've been working on this year at the end of the year when you come for our presentations. So I think we've seen in a lot of clinical studies with cell and gene therapy that it works remarkable for some patients, but for other patients, they're not responsive. So I think my question is, where's the role in precision medicine when it comes to cell and gene therapy, and what are the challenges that we need to solve when building the support that cell and gene therapy needs to take that next step forward?
How much time we have? We have an hour. It's a key question for a senior. You know, that's a thesis. But kind of in a nutshell, not everybody's responding. There's no one technology that will win. You have ADCs, as you saw. You have bispecific, which are important. You have different cancer vaccines against a target that it's all about the target at the end of the day. If it's how specific it's against the target. And eventually, it will be combination therapy. So by thinking that you will solve all the problem with one technology, wishful thinking. This is all about combination. The question is how to combine and what to combine. You know, in my field in urologic oncology, people used to die, young people with testicular cancer, metastatic testicular cancer. Nobody dies, no, I would say 99% are alive today. In the old days, why? Because they learned the combination of chemotherapy. I hope in 5-10 years we don't have chemotherapy because it will be replaced. But, and that's the kind of the shift right now. But even those days, the combination therapy was the key. Today, we'll have the newer modality that is taking over, and there will be the combination. Question, what comes first? The beauty about cell and gene cell therapy is it's one, like I said, it's a single infusion. Doesn't mean that you cannot vaccinate later on, or you can do neoadjuvant with something. That's where the combination, and probably surgery will have role as well. So it's not, when I was at training, there were 3 modalities at the Brigham. It was surgery, immunotherapy, surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. That's it. Nobody talked about anything else. Immunotherapy was not the 4th modality, you know? So now you have 4, 5, 6. Yeah. That's the beauty about all of that.
I'd just like to say a moment or so, last words for this part of the conversation. Arie Belldegrun was a medical student. He was an academic physician, is an academic physician, an entrepreneur, the creator of new therapies, new companies, then an investor in the start of companies, investor in the growth of companies, a business that provides lending to companies, a business called Breakthrough Properties that creates real estate locations for life sciences research, including one about 11 blocks from here on 23rd Street. Just so many things. I think always stimulated by that question of what's next. I'm so honored that you were able to be here today. I think this audience, I thank the audience as well for your participation, and I thank the leadership of Penn Medicine, John and Kevin and Larry and Arthur who preceded. And thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up. Mitchell, I do think this was. I told the funniest joke. You guys missed it. Mitchell, I've been in attendance at every one of your lectures. I thought this was absolutely the best one, and really thank you for your insightful questions. Thanks for pulling this together. Dr. Belldegrun, I need to let you know you've been my idol for a long time, mostly through competition. And I want to make sure we didn't miss that in his comments today. So we had Silicon Beach, we had Silicon Valley, we had Juno up in Seattle back in the late 90s and into the 2000s. That competition, I would go to ASCO. Do you know what Hans Bishop is doing? You know what Carl, you know what that competition, I think, makes us all sharper. It can be dysfunctional, and you don't want that to happen. But competing is a great thing in science because it makes us sharper, it makes us go forward. So thanks for creating the industry along with everybody. The other thing I heard during the lecture, if you ever watch Shark Tank, they always start off with, what if? Mitchell, you were using what's next. But if you wake up every morning and don't be satisfied and said, what if we could turn the immune system in the body to kill cancer? You guys are going to be at this for a long time. Wake up every day, what if? The only last thing I would say to you is I learned about AI hallucinations yesterday and how fast it can take you down patterns that are actually not there. As scientists, as physicians, we need to make sure that our creations are based in science. As AI takes over much more of what we're doing, we need to make sure that we're still grounded in that deep science that Penn was founded on. And Dr. Belldegrun talked, Harvard, UCLA, don't lose sight of how important it is. Put aside misinformation, put aside things that aren't accurate, and stick to the core values of science. And with that, if I could just get another round of applause for, I need 3 rounds of applause. 4 rounds of applause. The first is for Dr. Rubenstein, who's sitting up here in the front. John and I get credit for running the health system now, but you stand on the shoulders of giants. Dr. Rubenstein showed us how to run a great health system, so I wanted to make sure that we recognized Arthur for that. Second, I know Dr. Jameson had to run, but Larry followed Arthur and continued that progress forward and is now doing such a great job at our university. We're so appreciative of that, so give him a round of applause. In absentia, Dr. Belldegrun, as I said, you're my idol. I've got to watch you. We talked a lot about competition. Carl and I started a company here at Penn called Community, and we were so excited that we were going to knock Kite off the rails. Kite ended up purchasing a Community. So again, competition, fierce competition, also though friends as we go forward. So please, a round of applause for Dr. Belldegrun. And lastly, Mitch, you taught us a long time ago to say, what's it? What if at the health system? And we just appreciate you doing this each year for us. Please stick, so a round of applause for Dr. Blutt. And then lastly, we still have some coffee, we have some time, so if you can stick around and mingle for a little bit, it'd be great to catch up with everybody. Thanks very much.